Okay, it's too hot. Too hot. Kingsman: The Secret Service is directed by Matthew Vaughn, co-written by him and Jane Goldman. It's based on the comic series by Mark Millar and Dave Gibbons, and stars Taron Egerton, Colin Firth, Samuel L. Jackson, Mark Strong, and Michael Caine. And in Kingsman: The Secret Service, you have this young guy named Eggsy, played by Taron Egerton, who is recruited to apply to become a Kingsman, which is the secret intelligence agency. He's taken under the wing by Harry Hart, codenamed Galahad, played by Colin Firth, who's one of the agents, who is trying to figure out the evil master plan of this billionaire called Valentine, played by Samuel L. Jackson. And I did have a lot of fun with Kingsman, although to a much lesser degree, I think, than some of my friends. I do think it has very strong performances all throughout and some awesome action, but the writing really just honestly left me wanting a lot more. Now, visually, Kingsman has a very distinct sense of style. It's like a combination of X-Men First Class and Kick-Ass, which were both directed by Matthew Vaughn, and those old-school James Bond movies. So what happens is that the violence is very comic booky, but it's very, very fun to watch, but at the same time, it's still really shocking, so it manages to stay in that middle ground. Henry Jackman's score for the movie is good as always, and the use of some modern songs gives the movie this irreverently, like, punk feel. But for me, the real reason to watch Kingsman is really for its action sequences, which are really, really great. The action sequences edited by Eddie Hamilton and John Harris, they're super, super fun. They're very, very kinetic without being incomprehensible and without any of that stupid shaky cam. And the script is actually very, very funny. The humor is quite brash and it's very in your face, but it has a British coolness about it, so it has its own personality. Some people will complain that the last scene is pretty sexist. I understand where they're coming from, although I personally was not, all out offended, although I did find it a bit tasteless. And in terms of acting, Taron Egerton as Eggsy is good, although the only actor, like the actor you will remember from this movie, is Colin Firth as Galahad. He is so, so good as an action star. Like, he totally sells his action scenes, but all throughout them, he manages to retain this depth of character, so it's incredible to watch that. Samuel L. Jackson is hilarious with that lisp of his, and he's hilarious in these kinds of roles, really. Mark Strong and Michael Caine are typically good in the roles, although they are quite underutilized in my opinion. And Matthew Vaughn as an action director really is great. His action scenes are so elaborately constructed, and they're really just awesome to behold, especially the church scene, which again, some people find offensive, but I think they got it right, at least in my opinion, and it's really, really kind of awesome to see. And Matthew Vaughn really manages to keep a balanced tone throughout the movie of that whole action comedy vibe. But I do have quite a few problems with Kingsman, and I realize some people are gonna hate me for this, but first of all, just to get it out of the way, some of the visual effects just aren't the best. A lot of them don't feel very polished, so they did kind of take me out of the movie. There are times when Matthew Vaughn's direction felt a bit indulgent in that it felt like he was trying to be much cooler or smarter than he actually was. Like, he tries to input some like satire there about the old spy films, but he never goes all the way with them, so they just kind of disappear. But it's really the writing that's my problem here, because the plot for me got a bit too wacky in the sense that there was a character near the end who, minor spoilers, betrays the rest of the characters, and I just think that came out of nowhere. I didn't think his motivation was clear enough at all. Valentine's evil plan, while it's funny, for me it was just so far out there that I stopped feeling any tension or suspense or fear for the lives of these characters. Eggsy spends most of this movie in training sequences, and honestly, these training sequences are pretty useless because you don't get attached to any of the characters during the training sequences, and Eggsy does not change as a character from beginning to end. Like, he literally has nothing to him, except, by the ending, he's wearing nicer clothes or whatever. And like, you already knew he could fight before the training sequences, so I don't understand why we had to spend so much time with him. It's really the characters that are my biggest problem because, Galahad is cool because he's Colin Firth, and Valentine is cool because he's Samuel L. Jackson. There's nothing to the characters. Although overall, I will still say that I had a lot of fun with Kingsman. Just kind of turn your brain off, honestly. I still think it's kind of an okay movie, so yeah. So those are my thoughts on Kingsman: The Secret Service. Have you guys seen it? What do you think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? I'm sure you don't agree with me, but whether or not you agree with me, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.